Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Golden Ratio Podcast. I am Jen, GR Mom, joined as always by GR Dad.
Hi.
How's it going, GR Dad?
Fine.
I have checked, and your audio is indeed recording right now.
Well, that's good news or bad news, depending on what you like.
Okay. The cocktail of the week this week is the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club. Good name.
Is that Irish?
No. The thing is, like, all right, you look for Irish cocktails. It's either like the Dublin Mudslide, some stuff with Jameson, some nasty shots, or some like deeply offensive things that sort of treat the Troubles as something to like name cocktails after.
Or something just green. That's
Or
like
green.
It's normal stuff that's just green.
And it's like, it's not Irish just because it's got like Midori fucking melon liqueur
I know, like
in
that
it.
river in Chicago. Just because it's green doesn't make it Irish.
Today,
It's really green.
So for those of you who have, I mean, now I think everybody knows this because of social media, but if you missed it, forever Chicago has dyed the Chicago River green for St. Patrick's Day. There's a huge Irish community in Chicago.
So green.
So they have this like vegetable dye. They dump it off a boat. It's like
Oh my
fluorescent green.
I mean, it's a pretty good sized river. It's not real long, but it's nice and wide and deep.
Yeah. So today, the Chicago Bears tweeted, you missed this because you weren't around today.
Yeah.
So they took a picture and they photoshopped the river from green to orange. And they said, "That's better, Chicago River. Happy St. Patrick's Day." And the responses before they deleted it were like, "Could someone please tell the social media intern at the Chicago Bears about the Troubles?"
Oh, that orange means whatever, Ulster.
They're like the Bears single-handedly like trying to get the Troubles going again. So anyway, they deleted that tweet. Anyway, yes, all of the Irish cocktail. I mean, there's plenty of like good Irish drinks, and we got a bottle of Jameson for St. Patrick's Day. But yeah, all the cocktails are dumb and like
Dumb?
offensive in one way or another. I
offensive,
mean,
I get, yeah.
not cocktails with Jameson, but like the St. Patrick's Day themed cocktails all tend to be stupid. So anyway, the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club is rum, Cointreau, falernum, which is a kind of tiki spiced thing, and lime juice. That's good. It's kind of like a daiquiri.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good name, actually. I think that's Guac eating one of his new toys.
One of those new toys. A friend of the squad sent us a box of toys. They're getting a lot of love.
If anyone has kids, you know how there are toys that make weird noises, and that's totally objectionable, but other people give them to you?
That's what I did with
A lot of dog toys make weird noises, too.
These are okay, though.
Yeah.
I got my brother's kid. I think we've talked about this. Xylophones and drum kits and toy trumpets and stuff every year when they were little kids.
Not totally innocently on your behalf.
Oh, 100% with malice.
It's
and then my
bad.
mom
It's
would
so
step
bad.
in because, Mom, we all know that you liked Tom better. And she would be like, "Those toys can stay at my house." And I'd be like, "Mom, I got them to annoy Tom at his house."
She's like, I know. That's why I'm taking them out of that equation. It's terrible.
Plot was foiled.
I think many parents have cursed the giver of such gifts. Yes.
Well,
And there are a lot of loud kid toys. Anyway, there's a lot of weirdly sounding dog toys, too, that are like not squeaky, but like sound like those
crinkly.
crunched up water bottles.
They are usually crunched up water
Yeah.
bottles. Yeah.
Or they sound squeaky like cheese curds or something. I mean, it's just there's a bunch of weird ones where you're just like, what the heck is that sound? And adrenaline rises.
Guac sometimes gets going on a squeaker.
Oh,
where
yeah.
he's like squeak, 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 squeak. And then I perform a squeakectomy
Yeah.
on those toys.
Hops used to do that too, where she used to get really into making super lot of noise
Yep.
because she likes the attention. Hopper, where are you, diva?
Okay, so there we go. That's the cocktail of the week.
Cocktail of the week.
Dog. Okay, administrative corner.
Yes, I love administrative corner.
Honestly, I don't think we've got any administrative business.
Get out.
Okay, if you haven't received your Guaco pin and you don't live in Australia or New Zealand, please let me know.
Why? Because they're not getting packages still.
I received a bunch of them back. If you live in Australia or New Zealand and ordered a Guaco pin, you're going to be hearing from me this week because I got a bunch of them returned because apparently we're just not doing mail service to Australia and New Zealand anymore because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So they
I
sent
thought
him
that
back.
was temporary. It's permanent now?
No, I mean it's temporary. Just the
Oh.
temporary continues. I'm
Don't-
trying to
don't-
figure it out.
Don't get me all old man starting on the U.S.
No,
Postal
please don't.
Service.
Please don't. Let's move on. All right, dog updates.
I got theories.
There are no Guac updates. Guac is fine.
Guac is a good boy who needs a lot of love and is still dealing with his emotions.
There are no Vink updates. Vink is doing great.
Fink is slightly itchy and steals food when she can, and socks.
There are no Hopper updates. Hopper is doing great.
Hopper's one of the best girls in the world.
There aren't really any Chief Brody updates. A few people have asked why he's wearing his sleeve. It's just that one of his calluses is on his elbows is sort of irritated and it's letting it heal. So that's it.
He licks it.
And he licks it if the sleeve's not on.
Better than a cone. Cone is the worst.
Yep. There are no Remy updates. He's just chugging along, hopefully getting some more vision back.
He's resorbing.
So that leaves Voods.
There's a lot of updates on foods.
So Voods, last week we recorded the podcast late because I had been traveling. When I left on last Monday, right? So this is 10 or 11 days ago now. Voods was normal for Voods.
Yeah, he was.
He
Yeah.
was his self. And then by the time I got back on Thursday, Voods was really another dog. And
Not a better dog.
no, so he has developed new and very dramatic problems, both with his mobility and his alertness. And we didn't talk about it last week because we thought it might be medicine related because he had eaten, we did talk about all the things he'd eaten. And I think when he ate the inflatable donut cone alternative,
For Vink. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, I'd taken it out for Vink. So he ate that. We talked about it last week that he puked up parts of it. And I think that's the thing that he puked up shortly after dinner. And the problem when Voods throws up after dinner is that he throws up some of his medicine and he needs full doses of all his medicine. And so that means we have to give him more medicine. So you kind of waited until bedtime when he was thoroughly done puking all the bits up.
Yeah.
And you gave him more food and you gave him a full extra dose of medicine.
Yeah.
And he probably had absorbed some of the medicine, and so he had extra. And we've talked to the vet about this. He doesn't often throw up right after dinner, but it has happened before. And the vet's like, give him a whole extra dose of everything. It will probably make him sleepy, and that's it. And so the next day, which I guess would be Wednesday, maybe, he was really just drunken walking. Ataxia is the formal term for that. Really lethargic. And, we're like, maybe it's the medicine. He hasn't had problems like that before when he's gotten the kind of double dose.
Right.
And he had like 5 hours between vomiting and when he got the last dose because he threw up right after dinner and then you gave him that last dose at bedtime.
Right.
So it wasn't like he got them both back to back. I mean, normally he gets them 12 hours apart and he got them 5 hours apart.
Right.
And he didn't have all of one. So it kind of shouldn't be that. But we're like, maybe that's what it is. And that's not what it was because he just kept being like that.
Yeah, he still walks like he's half drunk. I mean, he just kind of leans side to side or sways. Yeah.
So so his ataxia, which is like the sort of drunken walking, he drags his feet. If he's just standing there, his hips will kind of lean over to one side or they'll lean over to the other. He falls down a lot. He has a really hard time standing up if he's laying down. He stumbles a lot when he walks. And he always did some of this, but it's so much worse now than it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also like near catatonic over the weekend, like not actually, but it was really hard
He
to
would
get
like
him.
fall into the deep sleep. Like at the drop of a hat, he'd like kind of just conk and almost comatose.
Yeah. And you couldn't engage him in anything. I mean, now there's plenty of times where he's like, no, like I'm sleeping, but he'll still, he'll perk up for snacks or foods, or he'll come, walking in sometimes, or he'll play with the other dogs. And he wasn't doing any of that.
And for a while, you could put a snack like in his mouth and he wouldn't eat it because he was just like, I'm so tired.
Yeah. So to the point where like on Sunday or Saturday, I was like, it's maybe time for us to talk about, plans for Voods, because this is no quality of life where he can barely stand up. He, is just not there. He just is asleep all the time. and we talked about having to make this decision a few weeks ago. So we called the neurology clinic because they happened to be open all weekend. And I was like, so, this is happening. And they're like, well, he could be having like some mini seizures, like not the big violent ones that he has, but some smaller ones that could be causing it. So we made an appointment to take him back in. Fortunately, early this week, he has perked up a bit. His ataxia is still just as bad. He's still very drunkenly walking around, and it's a lot worse than it was 2 weeks ago. But I would say today, his alertness is pretty much back to what it is.
Yeah.
Where it was.
I was saying he doesn't help himself by being so stubborn and lazy, right? Like half the time, it's really sometimes hard to tell if he can't get up or he doesn't want to get up and won't get up, right? Or won't pay attention because he's like looking at the lizard or something.
I know, but like normal dogs do not just lay there like he does.
No. He starts from a weird place too.
There's problems.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But now we can lure him with food, which is like that's more normal.
Yeah. So today, Dad took him up to Miami for, I think, only the second time, not as an emergency.
I know, he had his overnight bag and stuff, and he was very disappointed when he just came back.
Yeah. And when I was talking to the neurologist, because they still do COVID protocols, so you just drop him off and they bring him in. She's like, yeah, usually I see him when he's having seizures, and so he's all dopey. She's like, I don't really know what he's like normally because like
kind of like
here all. I was like, well, but anyway, Dad and I had kind of have had a bunch of long conversations about it, and sort of going like, our options are, he's on all the medicine he can be on for the seizures. So our options are sort of going to be, we can't increase his medicine because we had temporarily increased his medicine after his last spa week in Miami, and we decided to take him off the increased dose and risk more seizures because his quality of life was unacceptable. He was sleeping all the time, and it was just terrible.
Yeah. So now he's back on the dose that he's been on for years now.
Yeah. So we cannot increase his medicine, but we also can't decrease his medicine because if we decrease it, he's going to have more seizures. Every time we've tried to decrease it, he's had more seizures. And he's kind of on the borderline of having too many seizures now in terms of his quality of life. He spends 5 days a month at the neurology hospital in Miami, pretty much. I mean, he's gone 6 weeks now without a seizure, but he's basically he's been admitted and stayed there for nights every month except one since October, I think. That's too much. I mean, we can afford it. It's not a money issue. It's just like, what are we doing with this dog where he has to spend kind of one full work week out of every month
in the hospital
hooked up to IVs? It's okay right now. Like we're like, yeah, because when he's back, he has 5-ish days of recovery, but then he's got a good few weeks where he's kind of his perky self. I mean, as perky as he gets, right? I mean, he's still pretty out of it, but it's okay. But if he were doing that any more often, we have kind of talked through it and been like, that probably means it's time. What are we going to do? Like have 30% of the time he's kind of with it and engaged, and the rest of the time he's drugged out or hooked up on an IV. Like that's not good.
Yeah. Having like 30% of the time in the hospital is not good.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. And now it's like 20% of the time in the hospital on average. So, so we can't really adjust his medicine either way. And, the neurologist was saying, because when I was like, look, I don't need you to solve this problem. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything like new and obvious that you understood as a new problem happening. But we don't want to decrease his medicine and have more seizures. And he's like, yeah, we just tested all of his levels, and he's like right in the sweet spot of the therapeutic range on these two. So it's going to be less therapeutic if you decrease it because the current dose is exactly the right dose. So we're kind of not doing anything at this point, and he's doing okay. And then, we just kind of have to see what happens, basically. Maybe everything will be great. You with me, dear Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what can I say? It's a lots of variables that we don't have control over.
It's all really uncertain
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, maybe this is just a weird temporary thing. It doesn't seem like it. I mean, it's been a couple weeks that he's been extra wobbly.
Yeah.
So we don't know. But anyway.
He's wobbly. Like if he were a dog who raised his leg, he'd fall over if he raised his leg.
But he can't. He can't stand on 3 legs. He couldn't even. He can't walk without the legs on the ground. He drags his feet.
Those back legs are really have always been really compromised.
Yeah, and he's dragging the front ones now, which he wasn't before. Like the neurologist today, she's like, I was looking at his nails, and you can see, the middle nails are worn down. She's like, on his back legs, but also on his front ones. So he's clearly dragging all of them. He doesn't really pick any of them off. He schlurfs around, as we said.
He's schlurfing around.
He's absolutely a schlurfer.
Well, and it's a good time that we have cardboard all over the floor, so we can really hear him.
So it's extra loud. The good thing is he doesn't get up that much, so we don't have to hear it all that much. Brody says,
That's Brody.
You guys.
Brody says hello, and Brody says, I only had one dinner so far, and that's just beneath me.
It's almost 9 o'clock. Where's my second dinner?
It was on my first one I after 4. That was already too late. Now it's after 8. It's already too late. Big man Brody.
Anyway, that's the Voods news. In terms of non-Voods foods this week, what did he eat besides a napkin?
I mean, a whole napkin.
Whole like cloth dinner napkin, which we only discovered on the way out.
Yeah. I don't know, toys, and there've been bits and pieces of stuff.
Yeah, but overall,
he's in the recycling. Oh, a paintbrush. He was eating the.
Yes. Fortunately, you caught him on that one.
Yeah. I've taken. Yeah.
All right, so that's dog updates. In ramblings, someone said, "Could you please say more about the house construction?" Because for the we're updating the super followers on it and the Patreons. But we're not posting updates on the rest. So
because somebody thinks it's boring.
Here's what's going on in the house. We're renovating the guest bathroom. It has been gutted, including the subfloors removed. All new, everything put in. They'll probably be done next week.
It's been so long.
It has a new tile floor. It has now like 2/3 of a new tile shower going in.
No, we're in the fun stage now where we can see progress.
Yeah, and then the more disruptive thing is that I thought this was going to be a little project. It's turned into quite a big project.
No, I thought so too, naively.
So we have obviously like the main room of the house, right? The living room, dining room goes into the kitchen, and there's a vaulted ceiling on it, and all the ceilings here, they're not popcorn, but they've got this weird kind of stucco-y texture, and we have them get rid of that every time they've renovated a room, but they weren't going to renovate the living room. Like there's nothing really to renovate.
We like flat ceilings, not textured.
And I was like, when they were here last year, I was like, I'd like to redo this. I'd sort of like to do a bead board on the ceiling, and the guy's like, oh, like a tongue and groove, and I'd like, that sounds great. And like recessed lighting, and replace this ratchet ass ceiling fans that are in here, and get new registers. And I was like, okay, so they're going to put in a dozen holes for recessed lighting, put in new fans, just
slap some wood on there.
Nail that wood onto the ceiling and we'll be done. Oh my God. So they've been working on it all week. We now have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 12 rows of 1x4s nailed to our ceiling, like heading up towards the peak. So they can then attach the tongue and groove going like horizontally onto those.
Yeah.
There's holes drilled for all the lights in the living room, but they're also going to do the kitchen ceiling. They haven't even started. I think they've forgotten that they have to do that. They're going to remember. And they're like moving stuff, and they've got to wire all this new stuff, and they had to like extend down the like
switches.
Vents. All like the ceiling fan things, and then also like where the air conditioning comes out the vents, like they needed to add a piece on to extend it down a few inches, because they're like adding a few inches by putting these 1x4s and then the tongue and groove up there. And yeah, tomorrow they're putting in new electrical boxes for all the switches. It's taking such a long time.
We thought it'd be a little bit more complicated than painting the ceiling.
Yeah, I thought they'd be like, all right, we'll just nail these boards onto your ceiling and cut some holes and we'll be done. No. But I will
Nope.
say, so the guy who owns the company that does the construction work for us, he's great, and he's got a lot of vision, and he really likes things done perfectly, which is awesome.
Oh my God, though! But the work that they're doing on this is perfection, and I would do half as much of a job.
Yeah, I mean, same. But he's always got good ideas, right? So
Yep.
he thinks of stuff that we don't think of, which is great. And he is like, so what kind of recessed lights do you want? And I was like, I want them to be dimmable, because like none of our lighting in here sucked anyway. We basically just had the ceiling fans. But when they did our bathroom last year, they put in dimmable lights, which is amazing. And I was like, please dimmable. He's like, in my house, I have these Philips Hue light bulbs. And so these are smartish light bulbs. If you have an in-home surveillance device like an Alexa, you can hook them up to that. But we obviously do not have one of those in our privacy-aware household. But you basically have a phone on your app, and you can program them, and they can be any color. And you can do multiple settings. So you can have it, they'll put a little switch on the wall, and it's like you can have 4 settings it rotates through. So if you hit the switch once,
Like preset settings.
preset. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can set them to whatever you want with the app on your phone. But you can have presets. So like if you hit the button once, it will turn them on. He's like, at my house, we do 2% blue light. So if you have to get up in the middle of the night, it's really dim, but it's blue. And I was like, oh, this sounds like exactly what I need. This is perfect. He's like, and then you can hit it a second time and it'll put it on whatever the full setting. You can hit it a third time and it'll, like the ones in front of the TV, you'll get dimmer, and the ones in the back will, stay the same. And so you've got like a TV. So there's 4 settings like that.
What do you say? My daughter likes to just like do disco lighting.
He's like, I put them in the chandelier, and he has, I think, like a 6-year-old daughter. And so he's got it where she can just push a button and like each of them changes a different rainbow color. So we can do like disco color dance parties in the house, which 100% is going to be all that it will be on the snaps for like the first week.
My understanding is that for each bulb or whatever it is, you can mix red, green,
and blue. And that'll make all the colors.
Yeah, but you can make them almost any color, right?
Yep,
Like
yep.
it sounds just kind of science fiction.
We could do like a rainbow across the ceiling. So we could have like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, but we don't have to change the light bulb to do that. We just like mix it differently.
It's the glory of the LED,
It's
Ingo.
the future. I
Yep.
think I'm living in the future.
So anyway, that's actually going to be super fun, and we will totally be showing it off once we get them put in.
Oh yeah, we're gonna test the dog's color awareness.
So anyway, and new ceiling fans. They're replacing the doors, like the inside doors are all super ratchet and none of them latch. There's only 4, the 2 bathroom doors and the 2 bedroom doors. And they replaced the primary bathroom door last year when we renovated that. So there's 3 doors left. And when they were going to do the guest bathroom door, I'm like, could you just do all 3 of the remaining doors?
It'll make it feel so much better. These are like the really foam-based
They're
doors that are in
awful.
there. They're kind of bent, and they don't. Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't
none
lock.
of them close.
Like when we try to keep the dogs in the bedroom, Brody's figured out that he can just like kind of tug on it a little bit and
Yeah.
open it up. Yeah.
Bump it a few times. Yeah, we got to put a door stop under the door from the inside.
And then
to
you
keep
can't
it closed.
open it from the other side.
So they're going to do that, which is great. So it's actually going to make a huge difference.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to look so much better in here, and having good lighting is going to be like transformative. But oh my God.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It must be all home improvement. We haven't had that much stuff done in our lives, but we've had people in our house, in and around our house since January 10th.
Yeah. The other good news on the home improvement front is that I went downstairs one day this week and there were 2 giant piles of lumber in the driveway. And I'm like, there's nothing that we're doing that needs that lumber. And the sort of crew head who's working here on the bathroom, like, Martin, is that your lumber? And he's like, no, that's your lumber. So it was dropped off for the dock.
Maybe we'll get the dock finished. We're 95% done with that whole project.
Now we had the rocks in the front yard for like 3 months, as you pointed out.
Yeah, they were nice climbing
So we may
rocks.
have lumber in the front yard for a while, but the fact that they've delivered some lumber is a good
hopeful.
sign.
So hopeful.
It's not all the lumber, but it's some.
We're working on it.
So anyway, that's home improvement updates. We're not going to do lots of regular updates, but I will 100% do a tour when it's done. The bathroom is fucking amazing, you guys. The tile that we got is wild and beautiful.
It's cool.
So oh my God, when it's done, group photo shoot in the new shower with the blue round tiles. It's going to look super awesome.
Dogs are going to be stunned.
We'll show it off.
Stunned.
All right.
We should put a disco light in that bathroom.
They'll probably put the disco lights in there.
Might be too much with the faucet too that has disco lighting. And
Yeah.
everything.
We have an LED faucet. We'll do a whole bathroom tour in the snaps once it's done. Okay, do you want to do Taste of the Keys or German Word of the Week? You're responsible for both this week.
What? Responsible?
I mean, you're telling both stories. It's not like
You were
can
going to talk about the Haitians.
All right, fine. I'll talk about the Haitians. I have no problem with Haitians.
But I'll do a double feature.
You're just getting out of your story.
No,
Okay.
I'll do double feature. I'll do my story. But it's both. It touches on both.
Your story touches on the Haitians?
No, on German Word and on Conch Life stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there was a convoy of Haitians. Hang on, now I got to pull it up. Flotilla, whatever you call it. There was a single big boat, like old, handmade sailboat, that came to shore. This thing, I mean, I'm looking at a picture of it now. If you just Google like Haitians in Florida Keys, you'll find it. This happened this week. Migrants is what they're calling them. They're refugees from Haiti. They like made this sailboat. They got 100 people in there. This sailboat looks like it would be the size for like 5 people.
It's like the boats that float by our house. I mean, they're like little fishing boats. I don't know how they get 100 people in there. Stack them
I'm
like
sorry,
sardines.
Ingo. 163.
I don't. That's no.
163 people
I don't
on
know
this
how
boat.
they did it. Yeah.
I can't imagine. Anyway, they came ashore, so they came to the Keys and they landed in the yard of just some house.
It'd be like our dock.
It would literally be
on
like
our dock.
they came into our yard, and just 163
and start
of them
pouring
came on
out of
there.
the boat like
Yeah.
a clown car. You're just like, holy smokes.
Yeah, it was like a private residence. It looks like they weren't invited there. Like I'm looking at a picture of the house and the hurricane shutters are up, which happens all the time. Like it just means that people aren't there
Right.
at that house. So I don't think it was like, oh, we're going to Bob's house.
Right.
It was
No,
just
no.
like they got
this
to
is
the
the
Key.
first shore we found.
Yeah. And so all these there's pictures of all these migrants. It's 2 islands up from us. I mean, it's, they absolutely could have just landed here instead, and they all got out of the boat, and it has a little walk up beach like ours was before the seawall, right? You can just walk in.
Ugh.
And they're all just hanging out in the yard.
They're all
in
like,
these people's yard.
at least it's dry land.
Oh,
I don't know how
here.
long it took
Can
them.
you see this picture of the boat?
The boat is stacked with people. They're just like standing there like in a concert.
It is. It's like if you took a concert and put people, and the boat's tilted real sideways. We'll post a picture of it, or I'll post a link to this story.
I'm sure they ran aground, right? It's just
They
the
must have.
shallowness here, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, this is Fox 13 News, which is like I think in Miami. Oh, Tampa Bay. So it's not behind a paywall. But yeah, so these pictures are incredible of just all these. I can't imagine making that trip. And so they got here and they was all right, like here we are. And they went into this yard. So now they're all they basically get vetted for asylum status. Yeah. So it used to be, when the Cubans would come, it used to be like, are you here? You're in.
yeah.
And they got rid of that policy, and then Haiti never had that policy anyway. But things are a mess in Haiti, so I hope they all get to stay.
It must be a terrible mess if you're willing to risk death. I mean, you're risking death for many different ways if you're in an overcrowded sailboat. That must have taken a week or something. This is not Cuba. It's far.
Yeah. Yeah. But even, the Cubans who come here just in these boats that, like, I wouldn't take it from here to Key West, which is 15 miles, and they're going across the Straits of Florida, which are dangerous waters. And then for them to get here and then get sent back, it's just heartbreaking. Like, I'm all for, like, bring everybody in. Obviously, like, vet for the criminals and, like, don't let the bad people in. But, like, most of them are not. They just need to get out of there.
Ellis Island them or something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I'm all for it. So anyway, 163 of them showed up in somebody's backyard. And I found out about it on Nextdoor. They're like, what's going on over there on Summerlin Key? I was like, we got a whole bunch of people from Haiti here today.
I'm surprised it wasn't like the neighbor going, are they having a party on their lawn? It's so loud. Why are they all so loud?
So anyway, that was big news this week.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, they could have, it happens once a month that there's a boat of migrants coming from somewhere in the Caribbean where people die.
Yeah.
Trying to get here to the Keys.
Yeah, and then they try to save as many as they can. Obviously, it's Coast Guard and stuff, but if it happens far enough out, geez.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that news.
Yeah. So mine, German word.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm with you.
You're looking at me kind of funny.
German word of the week. I don't know what it's going to be.
Rettungsgasse.
I don't. And then the last word's gas.
Gasse. No, Gasse is lane. Like it could be like Fressgasse. There's a lot of Gassen in
lane. Like stay in your Gasse.
Well, if it's just Gasse, it usually refers to a very narrow street.
Oh, okay.
You know, like I don't know what
like Linden Lane.
Yeah, kind of like lane, but in German medieval towns, you just imagine like between houses,
like a little alley kind of thing.
Alley, yes,
yeah.
It's more like an alley. But you're right. It is lane. Rettungsgasse means the lane that you're supposed to leave for the
emergency lane, breakdown lane,
for the rescue vehicles. Yeah, so it's a rescue lane.
Okay.
And so because on the Autobahn, there's often not an emergency strip. You know, left or right, no shoulder. Let's put it that way, because it's an old. Some of those are built in 1930. Old days.
Nazis.
And so if there's a Stau, which there often is, especially after an accident,
traffic Stau,
traffic jam.
Yeah.
So in Germany, that just stops, right? So you might stand there for like 3 hours or something.
Yeah.
You're supposed to leave a lane in the middle. So everyone goes. The left goes to the left, and the right goes to the left, and the right goes to the right, and that way. Fire department, police, ambulance can get through the middle.
Do people actually do that?
Yes. Surprisingly, I've seen it.
That's great.
Yeah, no, it's because otherwise, you know, they'll get, I don't know what would happen.
Americans would not do that.
Well, it's because they're not, I mean, there's a shoulder and I mean, there's different conventions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and they don't
I just think about
the
like
education to do it, right?
On the plane, if I may deter from your story momentarily.
I like the distraction, the detours.
I was thinking, this happens on the plane all the time where it's like, listen, everyone, we've got a couple of people in the back who have a really tight connection. Ugh. When we land, if you could all just wait a minute and let them come to the front of the plane, we'd really appreciate it. And then like, ding, everybody stands up and doesn't let them off. So when I went to Houston last week.
Oh, this is the extreme version of that. Yeah.
So I flew Key West to Dallas and then Dallas to Houston. And on the Dallas to Houston leg of the flight, they were bringing the body of a dead serviceman, it was a dude, home to his family in Houston. I think he was either Navy or Marines because he had a Navy escort on the plane. Mm-hmm. So the coffin, you know, flag draped, is in the cargo hold. There's a Navy guy. He's in like the bulkhead of first class, right? I'm in first class because I'm flying for work. He's in the very first seat. And like we're getting ready to take off in Dallas. The captain gets on, you know, makes this thing, you know, we're really honored and humbled. We're doing this thing. So this is what's going on this flight, whatever. It's an hour flight. So we get to Houston on time, right? It's not like, oh, all these people have the thing to do. And we're like, oh yeah. When we took off from Dallas, they did like a water cannon salute, right? The plane goes through the little thing. So, I mean, it was like a very formal thing. So we get to Houston, and as we're taxiing, the captain's like, okay, so, you know, this service member's remains are on the plane. You know, they're going to come off like just everybody stay in your seats until the escort gets off the plane.
Because it's a ceremony.
There's a whole thing
that happens right away.
Which I watched. Yeah. We didn't have to. It's not like you have to stay on the plane for this whole ceremony. Just let the escort get off first. And he's literally in the front seat of the plane. So they're like, stay seated. Please stay in your seats until the Navy escort is off the plane to get this guy's, you know, coffin off the plane. And so we're kind of parked at the gate. And I think they've got to pull up all sorts of special stuff for this. And so we're sitting there for like 30 seconds, right? And some dickhead dude in like the back of coach is like up, like wrestling his bags out of the overhead. And one of I think the purser, like the head flight attendant gets on and she's like, "Sir, sit down. Show some respect."
I like that.
It was so good. I mean, in that case, everybody did say sitting, except for that one asshole in the back, and they made him sit down.
But there's always some guy, yeah.
And I mean, usually when they tell you to stay seated, I sit there and then everybody else is up, and I was like, all right. But yeah, there was I got off at the beginning, and then like you could go to the windows in the waiting area around the plane, and there was a whole thing. I mean, they had like a hearse, and like the family members, like they drove them out onto the tarmac.
The honor guard, yeah.
Yeah, there was a whole ceremony. The pilot was out there. Interestingly, like all of the baggage handlers, right? Like the guys who just take the stuff off, and like the cleaning crews for the plane, like they were all like lined up and doing the thing. And
they weren't starting their cleaning.
Yeah,
until
but they
that,
could
right?
have just like waited someplace else, right? But they were like all in a proper line, like
That's good. It's nice that they incorporated them, and it's respect for the.
They did a good job. But anyway, I just think of like assholes like that, and he'd be like, "I'm gonna drive in the middle lane."
Yeah, I mean, people in Germany, when you drive, you have a lot more responsibility than you do here, and you're taught that. And there's if you are on the Autobahn and you run out of gas, you'll get a ticket.
Yeah, because you're an asshole.
Well, because you could have avoided it, right? Yeah. And if there's no shoulder, you're really screwing stuff up, right? Or if you cause a stau and you're causing 2,000 people to be late with something that you could have avoided, they'll ticket you. You're required to render first aid at an accident. Everyone has a first aid kit. So there's, so you have responsibilities along with the license and the freedom.
All right, so give us the word again.
Rettungsgasse.
Rettungsgasse.
I was reminded of this today because I was driving back from Miami to here with Woods in the back, who was quite a pleasant traveler today. He only barked a few times and startled me to the point of
having a heart attack,
driving off a bridge. But I was just driving along, and all of a sudden, some fire trucks come up from the left, pulling onto Route 1. And so everyone kind of leaves them a lane and they pass everyone. And then I look up, I was on the phone with you, and like 300 yards ahead of me, there's this super dark black cloud just billowing up from the left of the road.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see what it was because traffic pretty much immediately stopped, but it was clearly something on fire. And so we just have 2 lanes of traffic going one way. It's not 4 lanes. It's just 2 lanes going one way there.
Yeah.
There's like a hard median with like restaurants in it. And then,
yep.
And so everyone was just standing there, and then another, fire truck came from behind, and everyone did kind of pull over.
People in the Keys are very good about
make a lane.
Yeah.
And I was like, Rettungsgasse, this is great. So they made and you also have a lot of shoulder, like grass on the right, you can pull over.
Yeah.
And then I was pleased because no one was trying to jockey.
Like the guy behind you trying to pull out first. Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody was trying to, because the traffic was still stopped for another 5 minutes. So, people could have like tried to jam up and no one was being that much of a jerk, which was good. Although a few people did try to drive past the whole jam on the right on the grass. I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah, I can see that
Hopefully
happening.
Some cop. I mean, there were like 6 cop cars at that. And then after 20 minutes of being stopped, traffic moved again, and there was an absolutely burnt out car on the left, off the road by that point. But it was right in front of the fire station.
Yeah. If you're curious, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office has a Twitter feed, and they actually have a picture of it today, because whenever there's a closure on Route 1, because it affects the entirety of the Keys if you want to get in or out, they report all of those things. So pretty much all it is like 2 lanes blocked at mile marker 93, or like accident at mile marker 57. So they usually there's no pictures, but there is a picture of that car today.
Yeah, I mean, it was even I didn't see the car, but I could see lots of black smoke, then black smoke with some white smoke as they poured water on it, then more white smoke, and then no smoke anymore. But you even saw some flames for a little while. I mean, it must have really gone up. That car was a husk when I passed it.
Yeah.
Wasn't a little bit of fire.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone got out.
Yeah, they didn't say anything about injuries, which usually they do.
No, this could well
So-
be one. You know, you leave it running, and it.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? I don't know. I got theories. It was not lightning. I could tell. There was no lightning. Anyway,
all right, there you go.
Rettungsgasse
Case of
is
keys.
the thing. Yeah.
I have the Fox 13 news site pulled up for the
Yeah.
Haitian migrant thing, and there's a headline that said child collides with a sloth on zipline in Costa Rican rainforest. And it's got a picture of the sloth hanging on the zip line.
Sloths never wait their turn. They always just, cut in front of the zip line.
They had
Wait. Let me cross.
Here's what the kid says. I just clocked him straight in the face. What do I do about the sloth? And the tour guy said, we just wait. Yep.
Well, to a sloth, everyone is impatient.
Turned out there's a break on the zip line, and the kid stopped, so he didn't.
Oh, he didn't clock the sloth.
Because he didn't knock the sloth off, which is good. The sloth or child weren't hurt. They just had to wait for the sloth to get out of the way, which
So-
took about 15 minutes.
Of course, it was 2 feet. Wait, so the sloth was just like hanging off
on
the
the wire.
the
Yep.
wire directly without
They said
the zip line apparatus.
within 30 seconds, seven people went on the cable. It was fine, and then the kid went, and the sloth had gotten on. So the sloth got on there real fast, and it just took him a long time to get off.
You know what I would do is try to put the sloth on the zip line, and it'll be the fastest the sloth has ever gone in his entire life. It'll be like, I'm going supersonic.
All right, well, that's it for the podcast. We've devolved.
That's funny.
All right, everyone. Well, until next week, Slava Ukraini.
Slava Ukraini.
And don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
That's right. Don't bite anyone. And happy St. Patrick's Day for, today.
Woot woot. Bye.
Bye.